After building my dream cottage, my world crumbled. A car accident left me bedridden, spiraling into psychosis while my husband made devastating financial decisions. "How was I supposed to know you couldn't think?" he claims. "Now I've lost everything, including him. What do I do now?" First post received 2 replies that were not helpful. This is lengthy. I have been married for 25 years. In 2005, I purchased land and spent 10 years constructing a cottage that I plan to use for retirement. My husband disliked it despite having summers off. He found mowing the lawn and bringing in the docks to be work, so we sold it in 2016, even though it was my pride and joy. In 2016, I was involved in a serious car accident while my husband was driving, which left me bedridden until 2017 when I underwent surgery. I was taking a lot of opioids. My husband claims I hold him responsible for not getting the surgery sooner, and while I am uncertain of this, I agree to accept his word, as my memory was deteriorating due to the opioids. In 2019, I decided to discontinue using opioids at my own request, as my memory continued to decline, and they prescribed cannabis to help with anxiety and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I still could not work. I asked my husband if we could purchase a condominium by the water to replace the cottage, but he refused, stating it would not generate rental income. I thought perhaps I should invest in rental properties to keep myself occupied. I bought a condominium, followed by a new build, which would not be ready until 2023, and then 2 lots in 2020. In 2020, my husband threatened divorce, and when I suggested therapy, he refused, insisting it was entirely my issue. I proposed purchasing a new house to escape the negative memories associated with our current one. We were scheduled to move, and I decided to leave him, subsequently dating an ex-boyfriend from college. I informed my husband of my intention to move in with this ex. He chose to remain in our house so that our children could finish university. Unbeknownst to me, I had developed a manic condition due to cannabis. A psychiatrist I had visited a couple of months earlier claimed there was nothing wrong with me. I did not date my ex for long, only a month before I rented a place. It was then that my husband agreed to marriage counseling. A friend of mine suggested that instead of renting, I should buy a property using her son as my real estate agent. My husband and I also purchased a winter home in Arizona on a golf course for him. As my husband and I looked at several properties, I became increasingly psychotic. I yelled at him, declaring he was a jail guard and expressing my urgent need to purchase something before the snow arrived. Then, in a moment of clarity, I wrote to him and the real estate agent, stating that we could not afford another home and that I did not want the mortgage broker to have access to our finances, as I was unwilling to break a fixed-rate mortgage. I instructed the realtor not to contact me again and indicated that we needed to sell our lots and conduct an assignment sale of the new condominium to avoid taking on excessive debt. 2 weeks later, the realtor persuaded my husband to provide our financial information to the mortgage broker, who suggested switching to a variable rate of 1.3%, while we were locked in at 2.94%. The real estate agent informed my husband that he had buyers for our lots, and my husband relayed this information, expressing doubts about my willingness to sell them. The agent subsequently told me that he had found the perfect home, but the offers were due in one day. He claimed he had buyers for our lots, but they were on vacation. I began to feel delusional again due to cannabis and interpreted this as a sign from God that I was meant to acquire this home to practice magic, even though I had never practiced magic before. It was a log home situated in a remote area on acreage. I gave no thought to how I would maintain it, considering my disability. My husband agreed to the sale without questioning the idea of practicing magic or anything else, saying he felt guilty for having made us sell our cottage as I was upset about it. The agent also convinced me it was a no-brainer, claiming the condos would pay for themselves and the log home. Ultimately, this turned out to be untrue, along with the assertion of having buyers for the lots. We later sold the lots using another realtor. I moved into the log home in 2022, and my psychosis worsened. I was abusing cannabis, leading me to rip thermostats off walls, believing my house would explode. My husband came on Saturdays to help me grocery shop, and when I shared some of my paranoia with him, he became angry, stating he could no longer deal with this situation. I visited several hospitals over the next year, and they indicated that nothing was wrong with me. Eventually, my sister advised my husband that I might have a brain tumor and urged him to seek help for me. I was involuntarily committed to a psychiatric ward in July 2023. In January 2023, we closed on the new condominium that I had suggested for an assignment sale, and when I asked my husband if we could afford for our son to live there, he agreed. However, this was not the case. We owed $1 million in mortgage debt at that point, and our home equity line of credit was maxed out at $350,000. Interest rates had climbed from 1.3% to 7%, and I was unaware of this as I had become detached from reality, and my mail was being sent to my husband. He did not inform me. After my release from the hospital, upon realizing our financial situation, I immediately listed the log home for rent and then put the new condominium up for sale. The tenant only remained for a month in that rental, and we attempted to find new tenants, but they seemed unreliable. I then experienced a complete nervous breakdown and told my husband that I was unsure what to do since the new condominium was not selling. I expressed uncertainty about whether we needed to sell the Arizona property, and my inability to think clearly made me rely on him for decisions. By this point, I could scarcely speak. My husband asked if he could take some time to consider, to which I replied that I was absolutely asking him to do so. I was still paranoid, insisting that Arizona would eventually run out of water. He returned and suggested we consult a realtor in Arizona. We followed through, and the realtor convinced my husband to sell immediately in November before the snowbirds departed. I requested my husband to speak to the property manager with whom I had been dealing since the place was rented from January to March, but he refused. I disagreed with the realtor's price and commission, yet my husband insisted we accept them. Consequently, we quickly sold my cherished retirement home for $75,000 below market value, included all the furniture and belongings for free, and the real estate agent made the purchase while we also paid her commission. We then rented it out 3 weeks later for our son to utilize. We subsequently sold the log home at a loss of $130,000. I was oblivious to the fact that we would no longer own these properties, and my husband yelled at me, asking how he was supposed to know that. I inquired why he did not run our financials since Arizona was our most profitable rental property, earning $4,000 a month. During our conversations about divorce, I had reassured him that I would not touch his pension and would solely rely on the rents. The other properties barely broke even due to the significantly high interest rates. I also mentioned that we desired the Arizona property for our retirement, intending to spend 6 months there, and it was located on a golf course for him. I am devastated by the situation, and my psychiatrist, who questioned my husband as to why he had not sought help for me for over 2 years, given that psychosis can lead to permanent brain damage, informed me that I lacked the capacity to consent. I attempted to challenge the sales legally, but I was told that since my husband signed, it was assumed he had explained the details to me. I am now deeply depressed, as the accomplishments I worked hard for in life have vanished. My cottage in Arizona. Had we retained the cottage, its value would have tripled during the pandemic. Arizona could have been valued at close to $1 million in rental income over the next 20 years. Additionally, it was paid for. I acquired it at an advantageous price and exchange rate. I constantly dwell on these losses, feeling as though my life's purpose has disappeared and that we have squandered our wealth and generational wealth. My husband informs me that he can no longer live like this because he feels miserable with me due to my ruminating thoughts and blaming him for the properties. I have been attending therapy for 6 months and am on antidepressants, but they are not effective. My husband claims he does not trust me, and when I ask why, he initially mentioned fidelity, accusing me of having an affair with 2 colleagues, which was not true. Then he expressed his belief that I was using him for his anticipated inheritance, although the properties would have generated more than his inheritance. He further stated that we have different values. He prioritizes family while I focus on money. I have been a very good mother. Lastly, he said I am incapable of moving forward, to which I replied that I had been the one planning our retirement and now felt set back by 20 years because of the sales. He then accused me of blaming him for everything. So I asked ChatGPT if I was overreacting and wrote out my experiences to address my hurt without blaming my husband. I informed my husband that I could not prevent him from divorcing me, and he replied that he is still contemplating it. I love my husband, and I am also disabled and dependent on him. I became estranged from all my friends and family when I was psychotic, friends I had for 45 years, and my sisters, as I was behaving irrationally. I now only have my husband and our grown children. I feel remorseful and ashamed of my behavior, yet grateful that my husband took me back. However, I feel resentful that he did not protect our family's wealth. I sense that our financial security has been stripped away from us, and I know much of it is my responsibility. I did have moments of clarity where I voiced my concerns about avoiding debt or switching to a variable rate. Then I lost my mental stability and consented to transactions. I was also aware enough of my lack of clarity to seek my husband's help, explicitly telling him that I could not think clearly. I was the one who mentioned selling the Arizona property due to ongoing paranoia, believing that our new build would never sell and that Arizona would run out of water, both of which are irrational. We merely needed to lower the price on the new build. My husband asks how he was supposed to know I was unable to think clearly, and I explained that I had just emerged from a psychiatric ward a couple of months earlier, could hardly speak, and had stated I could not make decisions. He then remarked that being around me leads him to make terrible decisions, suggesting that my paranoia might be affecting him. I told my husband that all he needed to do was calm me down and slow the decision-making process, especially since Arizona was rented out, meaning there was no immediate rush. He could have waited until my mind stabilized or consulted our financial advisor or others. My husband told me that after our sales, he had no knowledge of platforms like Zillow or Redfin, which only added to my frustration. I felt that if he was unfamiliar with property matters, he should have insisted on having someone else make decisions on my behalf, as I might as well have had dementia. I am utterly devastated and broken. I've lost the fruits of my labor and our wealth, and I do not want to risk losing my husband as well, though I understand he deserves to be happy. I simply cannot come to terms with everything that has happened. Does anyone have any useful advice on what I should do? Thank you for reading all of this. Story 2. In just a few months, my sweet girlfriend has shown me love, but when it comes to intimacy, it's always just a peck and I'm left thinking, will she ever hold me like I need? I crave her to grab me, kiss me deeply, and yet I worry, are we truly compatible? I 22 years old male and my girlfriend, 24 years old female, have been together for a few months, and for the most part things are going well. She is sweet, thoughtful, a great listener, and incredibly silly. However, when we engage in more romantic activities like kissing or cuddling, it simply does not meet my desires. I am a more submissive person due to past trauma and my natural preference. I particularly appreciate more assertive and softer women during intimate moments. I want to be held, pulled in, kissed, and loved, but this is not the dynamic with my girlfriend. While she is sweet and a good listener, which helps me with my traumas and for which I am very grateful, she tends to lean towards being more submissive as well. During cuddling, she often takes the position of the little spoon or is the one being held. I rarely get to be held, and it is usually me lying on her shoulder with one arm around me while we watch a movie. Every time we share a deep, passionate kiss or make out, I am the one who initiates it. When she kisses me, it usually involves a cute, silly kiss on my cheek, nose, lips, and other parts of my face, sometimes more tender but never close to passionate or lasting more than a few seconds. I desire for her to grab me by my waist, shoulders, collar, or even my head, pulling me in and kissing me the way I kiss her. I want her to hold the kiss she began, as if to say, I am not finished with you, and continue until I tell her I need to breathe or until she is satisfied. I want her to lie down and pull me into her arms, wrapping her legs over me and pulling my face into her shoulder as she plays with my hair. I want her to whisper loving things to me while doing this. When I am tired, I want her to sit down and gently pull me to lay on her lap, just talking to me, listening to my day, and helping me relax. Note, we have not had and will not have sexual intercourse until marriage. This is a mutual decision. There have only been a couple of times when I received the kind of attention I wanted. Although it was not the best, it was silent, still, and not as affectionate as I would have liked. I truly cherished it because I was being held by her. Unfortunately, these moments occur only once a month or so if I am lucky, and they happen only when I express my desire to open up about something deeply painful and emotionally scarring. We spend a lot of time together every day. While I admit there are moments when we are just working together, many nights are designated for watching movies, offering opportunities for privacy and connection. However, what usually happens is that I hold her, cup her cheek, pull her in, and kiss her. I gently take her hands and guide them to rest on me, whether on my back, chest, head, or shoulder, and they remain there while we kiss. I know she puts a lot of concentration into the kissing itself, which is fine and I genuinely enjoy. However, apart from her efforts with her lips, there is little effort in other areas. This is her first relationship, so my expectations about her knowing what to do are minimal. We have had discussions about this, and I have informed her multiple times that I really enjoy this type of interaction. While she has picked up on some small things regarding her techniques with her lips, the significant actions that I particularly desire are absent. I have expressed that while I love kissing her, it would mean the world to me if she would kiss me back. The same is true for holding and grabbing me. I have conveyed that I love more assertive behaviors like this and that I genuinely want to experience them. Yet, I am not feeling that connection. I do not want to come across as ungrateful for what she does. She is wonderful in her own right and possesses many qualities that make her an excellent partner. However, my primary fear is that she is not the right partner for what I want and need. The thought has crossed my mind that I might not propose unless she begins to engage in some of the behaviors I mentioned, grabbing and kissing me, until we are both exhausted or she is satisfied, preferably for a substantial duration, and taking and holding me regularly, not just when I am stressed or anxious, and spooning me among other things. But is this a reasonable expectation? She is incredible in numerous other ways, and I would lose so much by not being with her. Additionally, I fear I may never find a woman who can be the more assertive partner in our relationship. I do not want her to do these things all the time. I know from very painful experiences that being the more caring one in a relationship can be exhausting, isolating, and painful. However, having only a slim chance at that type of affection once a month, typically for just an hour or so, is not sufficient for me. I understand that she is new to relationships, and I am trying my best to be patient. Still, we have discussed multiple times how this kind of interaction is essential to me, and not receiving it is frustrating. I will continue trying to see where this leads us. Perhaps she will begin to initiate deeper moments more frequently. However, if this does not happen, I may consider ending things with her. Is this a reasonable reaction? Are we incompatible? Is this something significant enough to overshadow all the wonderful aspects of our relationship? I am uncertain about what to do, and it frightens me because if this situation reflects what sexual intimacy with her might be like, I do not know if I would feel satisfied and fully fulfilled in a marriage with her. Summary: my girlfriend is wonderful, but she is not my type. I have expressed my preferences to her, and although she is an incredible listener, she does not fulfill many of the requests I have discussed with her. I am contemplating whether this issue is severe enough in our relationship to consider ending it if changes do not occur.